A lot of people that are vegetarians or vegans do not eat animal products because of a morality standpoint. Do you think that it is okay to kill animals? Animals that have eyes and hearts and blood flowing through their veins and can, on a deeper level, be able to communicate with people and have emotions. Where do you draw the line between killing living things? One of my friends brought up the point to me that they draw the line at a sentient being. But when I think of a sentient being, I think of its ability to communicate and its ability to have consciousness and be able to grow and thrive and prosper in an environment. Just because it doesn't have two eyes and can make eye contact with you doesn't mean it's not sentient. This is A Day with Clay. Guys, thank you so much for being here again today. On today's video, I want to talk a little bit about something that actually crosses my mind pretty much constantly. It's constantly coming out of my mouth and into my mouth. Today we are talking about food, and more specifically, what food and what diet and what eating modality is going to be best for you. So if you're looking for a video to tell you cut and dry what is going to be the best route for you to take, this is not going to be the video. I'm laying out as much of the facts as I can, and without throwing in my opinion or perspective, I'm just going to point out a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself to help you in the decision-making process of what kind of diet is going to work best for you. First, as a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. Nothing I say should be used as medical advice. Blah, 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 blah. I'm 32. I'm 6'2". I'm 180 something pounds. I'm less than 10% body fat, and I feel pretty freaking good all the time. Probably because this is shit that I'm actually like hella passionate about. So on we go. So there is no one diet that's gonna work best for everybody. And I know we see it all the time, especially on social media or in scientific studies where people are literally attacking each other from one side over to the other side. You know, if you put carnivore on one side and you put veganism on the other side, they are constantly clashing, butting heads, calling each other names, putting down each other's professions, putting down each other's industries in hopes that people will adopt their eating point of views. And honestly, just all of it is lacking so much substantial context of all these individual modalities and things you need to look at. So here's a few of the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at the pros and cons of some of the different harsher diet lifestyles that people are promoting. Okay, so let's look at the two obvious parties, the vegans and the carnivores. Meat and dairy and other animal products have a lot of nutrients, and they are very bioavailable to the way our intestines are set up. On the other hand, veganism, there is a lot of nutrition inside plants. There is a lot of benefits and different vitamins inside of different plants. So what is one of the big reasons that people choose one or the other? From what I see the most, the people are using both of these diets more so on a short-term basis for a benefit, to get back to a baseline, to reduce issues they're having, whether it be inflammation or chronic disease or pain or sometimes even autoimmune issues. I've seen guys do juice cleanses where they cure a whole bunch of ailments in their bodies and they return their body to a homeostasis state where now their bodies can function properly and do what it's supposed to do. And the same thing goes for the other side. A lot of people are using carnivore, very strict carnivore, for like a year to get their body back to a baseline, to eliminate all of these issues, and then to slowly reintroduce foods so that through process of elimination, you can find what your body actually likes, what your body actually responds better with. So both these modalities used in the shorter term, I think, can be very beneficial. I think you might have a better time going long-term down the animal food route just because of its bioavailability and it's more nutrient dense. But going plant-based is also a very good tool to be used to help with your health. Okay, so now we've got that little bit out of the way. Let's take it a step further. Let's look at the morals from each side. A lot of people that are vegetarians or vegans do not eat animal products because of a morality standpoint or an ethical ground, which quite often when you get into the far extreme looks a lot like virtue. But let's break this down and see what this looks like. Do you think that it is okay to kill animals? Animals that have eyes and hearts and blood flowing through their veins and can, on a deeper level, be able to communicate with people and have emotions. And then on the other hand, do you think there is a moral way or a more humane way to slaughter an animal for it to be used as food? Or does your moral compass take you more to the point of like looking at Avatar, where everything serves a purpose in the cycle of life, and a animal being given a good life and treated humanely and then being killed is part of the circle of life, and that's giving its energy that we gave to it back to us to nourish our bodies? And then you can go on the flip side and then you can say, okay, where do you draw the line between killing living things? Do you draw the line at them having eyebrows and hair and the ability to run around and laugh? Do you consider bugs and smaller rodents to be living things? One of my friends brought up the point to me that they draw the line at a sentient being. Now, I don't personally know where they drew the line on that, but when I think of a sentient being, I think of its ability to communicate and its ability to have consciousness and be able to grow and thrive and prosper in an environment. Just because it doesn't have two eyes and can make eye contact with you doesn't mean it's not sentient. In fact, we share a lot of DNA with something like a mushroom, which has vast networks called mycelium that communicate and share nutrients and information through the ground, through the system of almost like webs, which is basically like the Earth's nervous system. So if they can communicate like that, does that mean that they're sentient? Or is it okay to kill them or to eat them? Do they want to be eaten? Just as if we can't ask an animal, do you want to be eaten by us? We can't ask plants, do you want to be eaten by us? And then if we're going to the extreme on the vegan side and you are having to destroy land in order to make monocrops or to make factories and facilities in order to lab grow all this fake food that is built in a factory that didn't come from a living thing. From a moral standpoint, that may seem better, but is that really the energy of the food that you want to be putting in your body? Something that is grown in a petri dish and doesn't actually have any energy or consciousness? And then also think about all the habitat you're destroying in order to create that monocrop. Is that monocrop being used in a sustainable way? Are we taking these monocrops and spraying them with pesticides so that it's killing all of the living animals around that come into contact with it, around the plants, and also depleting the soil of the nutrients that needs to grow? If you take a rototiller into a field, how many rodents, how many bugs, how many insects, how many other living organisms that could be other plants are being destroyed in the process of growing these crops? And then there's the extreme on the meat end as well. Is it okay to have cows grown in a slaughterhouse where they live in a small cage and don't get to roam around free and don't have a good life and don't enjoy themselves and don't fill them full of nutrients? They get fed grain and soy and things that don't actually make their bodies nourished and thrive. So on the flip side, is that sustainable? These are all questions that only you can answer. You have to sit with these questions and you have to decide for yourself and prioritize all these different things and say, how am I going to best feed myself? Because then you also have to take into account finances. As much as I believe that you should be spending a lot of money as an investment into your body by putting good ingredients and sustainably grown food into your body to fuel it, you also realize that actually does cost more money, and not everyone can go get a grass-finished, grass-fed, free-range cattle that's lived a phenomenal life because they can only afford the beef that you can get at the grocery store that's packaged, that's, it's going to be pumped full of hormones, and you don't know what it ate, and you don't know what kind of life it lived. So there's so many different questions of morality that could be asked. And to find out where you draw the line and really tuning in with your body and asking your body, what does it want? Okay, the next big part is going to blow a lot of people's minds, but get this concept. You ready? Every body is different. Oh my goodness. Okay, you see, every single person is literally different. It's called bioindividuality. There are some people out there, you will see freaks of nature on both sides of the spectrum that absolutely thrive off of one type of eating. Like we all know there's documentaries showing that there's, Olympic lifters and all these professional athletes that are vegan and posing these great deals of strength while on a vegan diet, saying, yeah, you can be vegan and be strong, right? Well, that person might be built differently. There's literally markers in your genetics that you can find out what nutrients are being utilized properly by your body and turned into other nutrients to then properly be used for that. It's a method of methylation where you can actually find out what kind of foods actually work best for you. And then some people go on carnivore and they get absolutely shredded. They continue to put on size. They continue to have high energy output and great digestion and zero inflammation. But there's no one size fits all. What works for me isn't going to work for you. Not necessarily anyways. And then you throw in a curveball to this. So not only is everybody different, in a term of 7 years, every single cell in your body has replaced itself with a new cell, meaning you are literally an entire new person. Now, you may look the same, you may function fairly much the same, but there's going to be slight differences as you grow and as you age, because that's what growing is. You're growing new cells and you're getting rid of old ones that you don't need, and you're basically replacing yourself, almost kind of like how a crab molts. it gets rid of its shell and hides until it can, I guess it builds a new shell around itself. I don't know. That's out of my area of expertise. So what I'm saying is 1 year you could be doing great having dairy and a lot of sugar and rice and corn. And then a few years later, you may not be able to function the same way off the same food. Your body may not absorb it. It may not process it the same way. Your body might get slightly more inflamed or irritated by that one food that before was working great, which that kind of segues into my next point. It's listening to your body. I don't mind if people go, especially on a short term, like they go vegan or they go carnivore, as long as they're listening to their bodies. The whole point of doing a carnivore diet, or doing, quite often I'll do fast for this reason, is to cut down inflammation and kind of reset the gut bacteria and almost hit like a little bit of a fresh restart. And then when I reintroduce foods, I pay attention to my body and what it's telling me. How does that food taste? Do you ever wonder why certain things taste good to you but not to somebody else? Or even better, if it tasted good to you a few years ago, then all of a sudden it tastes like dog shit to you? That could be part of your body changing, and that could actually be a system where your body is signaling through your taste buds what your body actually desires to have put into it. So as you reintroduce foods and you see how your body feels, how is your digestion? Do you get inflamed from it? How is your, honestly, as much as no one likes to talk about this, how is your poop? Your poop can tell a lot about what you're eating and what's going on inside your body and whether it's working or not. Because if you're not having regular movements of a regular consistency, there's issues there. And the easiest and cheapest way to discover what those issues are is through an elimination diet, where you strip down to a very bare bones diet and then you slowly introduce things back into your diet while, like I say, listening to your damn body. Now, I mentioned your taste buds. I think taste buds are two different things. The first one is what I mentioned. It's your body's communication system telling your brain what to select for food to put into it, because that's what it desires. Those strawberries are tasting awful fresh and juicy today, and they're full of certain vitamins, and your body could be telling you that, hey, that strawberry contains the vitamins that I require right now. And the second one is straight up chemical engineering. Anyone who's done a period of elimination, has eliminated things like processed sugars and flours and seed oils out of their life, knows that you become more sensitive to it, not because you're messing up with the system, but because you're becoming more in tune with your body. And things like Frito-Lay chips are literally chemically manipulated to hit all the dopamine centers in your palate. So you can, on a physiological level, get the most enjoyment out of that food to then make it as addictive as possible. Also, a lot of the highly processed foods have chemicals in them that don't tell your body to secrete what's called ghrelin, which is your satiety hormone, which is the hormone that's released by food when you eat it that tells your brain that you're full. So that's why it's so easy to take an entire bag of chips and down the whole thing, because they're literally chemical engineered to make them tasty and delicious and hit all the dopamine spots and give yourself enjoyment from your food. Highly processed foods. Because there is almost no way in hell that someone's body is communicating with them saying, I need Oreos, I need Frito-Lay chips. Because there's literally no ingredients, no raw elements of those two foods, because they're so highly processed that your body in nature would naturally be saying, please give me some of those. I briefly touched on seed oils there. I'm going to eventually make another video all about seed oils. I have a very in-depth and intimate story with seed oils that I would like to share my perspective with about them. So that's going to live up there when it's done. Okay, so the next piece is honestly about your relationship with food. I have seen some wild videos in the past couple weeks of people tearing apart other people's messaging about food and sharing their perspective about how they're eating and what it's been able to do for them, how they've been able to use food as a vehicle to improve their health. And they just tear it all down and they project all this nonsense about their relationship with food. Now, a lot of people have the mentality of, okay, I love food so much that I am not willing to give up the chips. I'm not willing to give up the junk food. I'm not willing to give up the candy because I love it so much. And then on the flip side, there's people that love and are addicted to the feeling of feeling good, of feeling not inflamed, of feeling clean and lean and ready to go, full of energy and mental clarity. And those people are usually treating food as fuel and knowing that, hey, if I'm a race car, I need race fuel. So I'm going to feel good. And I know that in more of a long-term dopamine release system, I am going to feel so much better in X amount of time than I would if I eat this. Therefore, this food, which is better fuel for my body, is what I'm going to choose because that's what makes me happy. So then you have to ask another question. Okay, well, where are you getting your dopamine from? Are you getting your dopamine from external sources, whether it be social media or comfort foods? Or are you finding ways to generate the dopamine from within and having a meaningful connection with it? Because if you think about it and ask yourself that question, where are my cravings and my addictions and my desires for food stemming from? Are they trying to fill a void? Are they trying to fill my cup up? And when people say fill your cup up, what are you filling your cup up with? Is it of the dopamine and the serotonin that you're getting from these highly processed foods that, like I said, are literally chemically designed to be addicting, right? And all of this stuff that I'm saying all boils down to one final piece, and that is, what are your priorities? And if you do decide to pick a more harsh side, whether it be, going whole vegan or going carnivore, whatever you do, like if it's a priority to be as clean as possible and really attack your health, but in the best way possible. And do you care about going organic? At what level do you start to decide that? Yes, you're going to pay more for organic, but what are you actually getting with organic? Or what are you getting with non-GMO, genetically modified organism? I just learned a little while ago that oranges are a GMO product. They never were an orange. It was a genetic modification, I believe, of lemons. But either way, that's not the point. But if you're going organic, hopefully you're not getting as much pesticide sprayed on it. And pesticides, which come in the form of glyphosates, which I already said I'm going to make a video about, they can cause a whole bunch of problems with your health. Now, of course, then you're looking at what are your priorities? Well, the dose makes the poison, right? Super low dose of something like a glyphosate might not kill you. But what is the dose that, if slowly dripped into your food every single day and every single meal that you're having has a little bit in it, how much of that before your cup, which is your tolerance, overflows and suddenly your body doesn't have the tools to process that anymore because you've been using essentially your body as a filter to filter out all that crap so it can just utilize the raw materials of the food itself. And how much of a decision is that going to weigh on whether you eat one way or another way, or buy organic or don't buy organic? Guys, it's so nuanced and there's so many different layers and so many questions you could ask to figure out what it is exactly that works best for you. Guys, I did my very best in this video not to interject with too much of my opinions. I tried to just lay it out there, lay out the facts, lay out the perspectives on both sides, and ask some questions that you can then ask yourself to make a decision for yourself. Because like I said in all my videos, I'm going to continue to share my perspective and awareness and facts that I've been learning along my own health journey, so that if you guys take it and you hear it and you resonate with it and you want to make some of those changes in your life, that's beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's all a choice. You get to choose how much you prioritize your food. You get to choose whether or not you want to do this or that or want to feel a certain way. You ultimately get to choose, and those choices will create the future that you're wanting to make. And that future will be an accumulation of all these little choices. So I didn't want to stir the pot of this video with my own opinions and points of view. However, if you do want to hear that, I'm going to make a video that's going to be right here, and it's going to talk about what I eat and why I eat it. And again, I'm a perpetual student, and if I'm going to learn things along the ways, I'm probably going to change my opinions along the ways, but that's okay. It's a process, and I am enjoying the shit out of this process. And actually, one of my good friends had a podcast called Praise the Process, and I loved the intention behind that process so much, but he stopped it. Hopefully they'll bring it back again sometime. If you know, you know. But anyways, guys, that's it for this episode today, all about food and figure out what is the best food for you. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts down below. I want to hear all your thoughts. What are some other questions that I missed? Write them down in the comments and let me know. And if you want to go a step further and you want to get a stupid little vibrator or notification every single time I put out a video of something like this, it's going to be a little bit different. There's a little bell notification icon. Click it. And of course, like the video. Thank you guys. We'll see you in the next one.